This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Welcome back. It's Tech Now here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and today we are taking a look at solar technology. In light of increasing electricity tariffs, particularly for those under Band A, and an eventual planned increase for other bands across the country, a few Nigerians have spoken out about going off the grid and turning to solar energy instead. Solar has long since been touted as a viable alternative to Nigeria's electricity problems. However, the cost of the equipment needed has been unaffordable for many. On Tech Now today, we discuss solar technology as a way of powering Nigeria. Our guest on this is Kurutsi Tabki. Mr. Tabki is a renewable energy expert. Hello and welcome to the conversation, Mr. Tabki.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Let's perhaps ask the question of whether solar energy is perhaps a viable alternative to the national grid and the current electricity system that we have.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Actually, on a national scale, I could say that the solar system is a very good alternative to the national grid we have. However, there are challenges which, of course, we have to really consider when it comes to the use of the solar system to replace the national grid. One, for instance, if we're dealing with it on a large scale to replace to be a very good alternative to the national grid, that means we require space. However, I am of the opinion that space could be rather utilized on the rooftops of homes for it to be a very viable alternative to that of the national grid, so that from the homes, people could actually have a very viable option as an alternative to the main grid.
Mr. Tabki, one thing that we have seen as far as electricity in Nigeria is concerned is that it is not available to a large number of Nigerians in the quantities that it is needed. Now, you're saying that solar can actually fill that gap, but we are not seeing as a concerted push from the national authorities to have solar as an option. Do you get the sense that this is not something that is encouraged at, I guess, a much larger level?
Okay, yes. Actually, just as we said, solar can basically serve as an alternative. However, there are the two major renewable energy sources that can really serve as alternative is one, the solar and the hydro. Those are two renewable energy sources that are very viable. And then, of course, for the solar, averagely, homes in Nigeria make use of approximately like 15 kilowatt of energy per day. So it's between 13 to 15 for an average home. So if you look at that, in terms of being an alternative, it's something that solar can replace it at smaller scales. That's from homes, then culminating to a larger capacity when you put the aggregation of these individual houses to get all together.
I do wonder whether really it's... So we keep seeing it as this alternative, the way to go. A few people have touted as such, and it will at least put you back a few million to be able to power your home sufficiently. Even with any conservation of energy needs, right, it's still expensive. We don't produce these products here in the country. If we are looking towards a transition to sustainable energy, what should the government actually look at? Because every time we talk about solar, it's actually individual citizens such as yourself and myself who are looking to that option.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So for us to have a sustainable solution, I'm grateful we already have a project that is already running, which is aimed at ensuring that we have over 95% renewables by 2050. However, if we follow that judiciously, it should be able to should be able to deliver the goods. But what I want to just say is that for government to do this, it needs to incentivize this equipment for homeowners, and then we also need a very great policy drive when it comes to this area. What do I mean by policy drive? We actually have the mini grid regulation, which was recently launched, so that's actually a right step in the right direction. However, there is more that needs to be done in terms of implementation. We also have places that don't even have access completely to renewable, to any form of electricity. Solar is really coming into those kind of places for mini grid solutions to be able to serve those unserved areas. So I believe that with good incentive, with good policy drive, with good public awareness, just like what you are doing right now, I believe that there will be a very great effort towards that. One of those examples is having incentives such as, for instance, subsidizing the cost of these items, and also putting up policies that, like net metering, such that people that already have these systems can actually make some money of the government through some very modalities arranged to encourage people to be able to go solar.
Mr. Tabke, I'm curious as to what the cost of solar installations will be, and I ask this question from the standpoint of someone who has recently made inquiries as to what it will cost to install solar on a property that I own. Now, while the cost is relatively affordable because of I've been planning this for a while, it is bothersome that I will have to part with that particular amount of money to install solar equipment, which I will be honest is useful. However, I wonder if there's anything that can be done that to ensure that the prices of installing solar, or that solar installations become readily available, perhaps on the same sort of tariffs that we are seeing when it comes to what we currently have to pay for electricity in Nigeria. Is that a possibility at all?
Okay, yeah, it's a very great possibility, because comparatively, if you look at it, there is already a lot. There has been lots of subsidy with regards to the use of the national grid. So it will look like the main grid is actually cheaper currently, which I will quite agree current at the moment. But when you look at it on a long run, you are actually investing much, but currently, but then it saves you. There's a cost benefit over time. Why do I say that? If you look at people on band A, for instance, with a basic energy demand of like about 13,102 watt hour in a day, such a person will be spending like 3,445 naira per day to power his equipment for 8 hours per day. So, and then cumulatively now, that's for basic. Now, cumulative now, you are talking what we are saying. We're putting it at like 103,315 naira monthly. And for somebody on a regular band, like band B, band C, we are having like 845 naira per day. And then monthly now you are likely to spend like 25,350 in a month. So if you look at this now, that's for basic, and most people have gone beyond basic. So if you look at it now, then compared to a cost of maybe installing like a 3 kilowatt, a 3 kVA 24 volt system with maybe like 5 panels up there, that is about maybe of maybe like, let's say 400 watts. So if you look at this now, you will now observe that over time the cost benefit for someone installing solar is actually better as compared to someone that continuously run on the main grid.
So, Mr. Tabke,
it's an investment that is worth it. Yeah.
I keep thinking about this beyond individual Nigerians, right? In the long run, is it a sustainable thing to continue to import these products? Do you think that we're in a place where whether it's industrial capacity or technological capacity to start producing the moving parts that support harnessing solar energy?
Yeah, a very, very good question, actually, because the way to go for our country is production. So I am happy that at least we are actually in Nigeria now. We already have solar panel assembling plants. Though I'm yet to hear of a company that produces the chip here, but it's something that is very doable. Secondly, now I'm also happy with the project the federal government is currently doing around Nasarawa in Nasini solar plant around in Kefi, or close to Kefi, will I say, for manufacturing solar plants, manufacturing solar panels. So although I wouldn't know whether it's going to be complete knockdown or semi-knockdown, actually, but however it is, I'm sure that it's going to crash down the cost of these solar panels. More to that also, I read on the news today that Nasarawa state government will be supplying Nasini with lithium so that we can use them to produce our batteries. So if these things that are already these plans that are already running, if they are actually going to see the light of the day, I believe that in a shorter time, we should be able to have that done. More so also, we have electronic companies around that should be able to produce us the electronic parts like the inverters and the rest. So these are just important things. But what I will advise is that let there be a value, let the government be very, very deliberate about creating a value chain around this. Let there be people that produce some of this. Someone can be close by the Nasini plant producing the chip. Another person can be there doing the assembling and all of that, so that at the end of the day, there's a complete value chain that is able to really crash down some of these costs.
Well, Mr. Tabke, I would like to thank you very much for joining the conversation and sharing your time and expertise with us on this.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir. Kuritsi Tabke is our guest on Tech Now today, and he joined us to speak on the idea of solar power being an alternative to solving the electricity crisis that Nigeria currently faces. Nigeria's national grid has collapsed 3 times in the year 2024 alone, and multiple times in previous years. It continues to suffer from whether it's vandalism of various power installations to a drop in the megawatts that are produced. Now, the most recent news out of the electricity sector by the Minister of Power, Mr. Adebayo Adelabu, indicates that the federal government is targeting an increased supply of megawatts from 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts by the end of 2024, and an additional 10,000 to 12,000 megawatts in the course of the next 3 years. But perhaps the idea of solar power being a stopgap or indeed a viable alternative is something that should be considered. That's all for Tech Now this week on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. From us here, Nabila Usman, and myself, Stephen Imediegu. We'll see you next time around, and we ask as always that you stay tuned to your Beyond the News station, Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. The conversations continue in just a moment.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.